Two winter camps are on the way. Bing on the ring, bang on the ring. Hear the raftsmen loudly sing. Bing on the ring, bing bang. Across by town they went today. Across by town they went today. They have their grub, they cannot stay. Bing on the ring, bang on the ring. Hear the raftsmen loudly sing. Bing on the ring, bing bang. In bark canoes they make their way. In bark canoes they make their way. They reach the camp, they shout, hooray! Bing on the ring, bang on the ring. Hear the raftsmen loudly sing. Bing on the ring, bing bang. When mealtime comes, the men all say. When mealtime comes, the men all say. It's pork and beans again today. Bing on the ring, bang on the ring. Hear the raftsmen loudly sing. Bing on the ring, bing bang.
Bonjour! It was a long paddle today to get here in time for rendezvous. Je m'appelle Pine Tree. I am the bourgeois of the Northwest Company, the voyageur. Good evening, welcome, and thank you for joining us during this unique and challenging time in the history of our camp and of our world. Our Frontiers Camp staff crew has spent the past 11 months preparing to provide you with our second-to-none program in person, but unfortunately are unable to be together with you at our beloved Mount Norris this summer. While we can't gather for our traditional beloved camaraderie, competition, cooking, and campfires, we have been working hard to envision how we can still share our skills and passions of older times with you from the safety of our homes. While these activities are not intended to replace a year of Frontiers Camp, we've put this campfire together as a way to share with you some of the things you might find at one of our in-person campfires, as well as what we think a remote rendezvous experience might look like this summer. To start, we want to share with you an example of how scouting continues despite not getting together with our troops and patrols in the ways we are used to. This is also an example of how what we learn at Frontiers Camp can continue into our daily lives and home troops. Dancing Spirit learned flint and steel fire starting as a woodsman at Frontiers Camp last year in 1828 and is now teaching the skill to her home troop.
Today I'm going to be talking about fire building. When you build a fire, please consider why are you building it. If you're just building it to roast some marshmallows, none of that material needs to be any bigger than your thumb. If you're cooking in a Dutch oven though, you do need fuel large enough so that it'll burn down to coals and then you can cook with it. There are multiple different ways to lay your fire. We have a log cabin, teepee, or a tripod, and a lean-to. To get to that big stuff, you do need to lay your fire with some smaller fuel. Start with the tinder, small fibers, and work up to the kindling, larger material. Then you need a spark. To create a spark, you can use lighter, matches, flint and steel. Then you need something to carry the spark. Many materials can be used. Natural fibers, candles, some paracord has a flammable core. Now that we've lighted our fire in a safe location, we have water, we have extra fuel. I've built this fire in a teepee formation, and it's got very, very fine pieces, and it's got very slightly bigger pieces, and then bigger pieces and bigger pieces. So it has a bunch of different kinds of sizes of sticks, so that when that little baby flame goes in there in its nest, it has a very good chance of survival. So now that we've laid our fire, we need our spark. So I am going to use flint and steel, and it basically how it works is the flint, you strike it against the tempered high carbon steel, and the sharpness of the rock shaves off a little bit of the steel, and catches it on fire because of the friction, and you send that little bit of steel, that spark, into the char cloth, which is charred cotton, and it ignites the little bit of cedar fiber around it, which ignites the rest of the cedar fiber, which then ignites the rest of the fire. Get it in there. Get it in there.
Ah, that's better. So, in keeping with our long tradition, I will add these ashes from the Scout campfires past. Frontiers camps, Indian camps, summer camps, camporees, jamborees, leadership trainings, Order of the Arrow events, Philmont, Atacocan, Northern Tier High Adventure Base, and all manner of fire fellowship stretching back to the 1930s. I first received and started sharing these ashes in my early days of scouting in the 1980s, and many others have taken them to spread the sense of our togetherness across the globe. By this, we blend our memories and customs with those who came before and offer them that these traditions can continue to be shared long into the future. The goal of Frontiers Camp is to teach the values of the Scout Oath and Law within the context of the American frontier and fur trade era. Some of the ways we achieve these goals is through period-appropriate skill development, physical and mental challenges, fellowship, leadership, and teamwork opportunities. We also pay particular attention to the multicultural nature of the frontier area and do our best to instill both respect and honor for the rich variety of customs, ideas, and lifeways of the ancestors as a means to also better understand our own relationships with each other and to our greater communities. While we can't offer these in a traditional format this summer, we would like to share with you some of our ideas for this summer 2020 or 1829. We have scouts and scouters gathered here tonight from their homes across the country: Vermont, Maine, New Hampshire, New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, Tennessee, Colorado, and my family and I are joining you here from Washington State. In a similar way, the American frontier was a melting pot of people and cultures who came from different lands, but who were inextricably tied to the land on which they lived, hunted, explored, exploited, and fought to make and lose fortunes and livelihoods. To recognize the many peoples that lived on these lands before us, we acknowledge that we are gathered here tonight from unceded ancestral lands of the Penobscot, Naransuak, Pentecook, Nipmuc, Abnaki, Merrick, Oneida, Lenape, Eastern Band Cherokee, Arapaho and Cheyenne, Duwamish, and other native peoples, people that are still here, continuing to honor and bring to light their ancient heritage. The original inhabitants of these lands, Native Americans, were integral part of the American frontier and fur trade. We strive to honor their customs and culture in the context of our program. We share song and dance as a way to better understand their hearts and recognize their role in setting the groundwork for the world we return to when our week of camp ends. Little tree, acorn, grouse, and flying squirrel gathered around the drum to provide us with this recording.
Native American culture on the American frontier was rich with song and musical instruments, probably the most notably being the drum. To many Native American tribes, the drum beat was considered to be the pulse of Mother Earth. The drum beat was used as a way to call to their ancestors and send prayers, to prepare for war and come together in peace, and to celebrate or tell stories. Drum beats were used to guide dancers in their steps, to tell stories, or compete with others as drum beats accelerated. At Frontiers Camp, we use our camp drum and sing songs with respect to those who created them and with gratitude to those who brought them to our family. We use our songs to gather for campfires, to honor friends and family, and to tell stories and compete. The gathering song was brought to Frontiers Camp many years ago by Wolf Mother. She was taught this song by a group called the Man Killers, a woman's drum group from California, whose members are a mix of many tribal nations from across the country. There are many types of gathering songs from all different tribes. They are used to begin the powwows, to gather all together into the circle. At Frontiers Camp, we use the gathering song to start our campfires, bringing all of our companies together as one.
Yeah, 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 oh, yeah, 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 oh, yeah, way away. Yeah, 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 oh, yeah, 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 oh, yeah, way away. Yeah, way away, yeah, way away, hacha. Yeah, way away, yeah, way away. Yeah, 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 oh, yeah, 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 oh, yeah, way away. Yeah, 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 oh, yeah, 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 oh, yeah, way away. Yeah, way away, yeah, way away. Yeah, way away, yeah, way away. Yeah, 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 oh, yeah, 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 oh, yeah, way away. Yeah, 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 oh, yeah, 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 oh, yeah, way away. Yeah, way away, yeah, way away, hacha. Yeah, way away, yeah, way away. Yeah, 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 oh, yeah, 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 oh, yeah, way away. Yeah, 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 oh, yeah, 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 oh, yeah, way away. Yeah, way away, yeah, way away. Yeah, way away, yeah, way away. Yeah, 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 oh, yeah, 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 oh, yeah, way away. Yeah, 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 oh, yeah, 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 oh, yeah, way away. Yeah, way away, yeah, way away, hacha. Yeah, way away, yeah, way away.
The honor song, or flag song, is another song brought to us by Wolf Mother. It is also performed by the Man Killers. The honor song has meaning to Native Americans, similar to that of our national anthem. Typically, the honor or flag song follows the gathering song. No dancing is involved, for it is a solemn song used to pay respects to their nations. At Frontiers Camp, we use the flag song during flag ceremonies to pay our respects and to honor those who have come before us.
Way high, oh, ho, way, oh, way high, oh, way. Way high, oh, way high, oh, way high. Way high, oh, way high, oh, way,
It's great to see and hear some of the sights and sounds of camp. And it's so great to see that so many of you have decided to join us this evening. We're grateful to have you with us. Now, we've all gotten used to this concept of virtual events, but I'd like to challenge you to think of this as a remote rendezvous. During this time, I'm hoping that your troops at home have made ways for you to participate in some of the things that have made scouting fun, even if you've had to do it remotely. In the context of our in-person camp, we learned the skills of self-sufficiency in order that we could imagine or test ourselves as being confident to go into a remote location like the traders, trappers, and voyageurs of the fur trade did, and not just survive, but to thrive, on our own or with our brigade or company. Let us think of ways that we can challenge ourselves to live that remote experience, even at home. At our house, Dancing Spirit and Weaver of Wisdom have already decided for the week we would normally be together that they are going to sleep outside all week and cook meals over an open fire. Now, you may not be able to have the space or the tools to do that, but think of some of the ways that you might be able to take up the challenge in your own situation. This can also include ways that you can reach out and support your brigade, the family and community around you. Go ahead and write them into the chat, and we'll share a few to help inspire each other to take this to the next level. One way we're planning to provide you with opportunities to get some hands-on frontier-style learning, even if you're at home, is to provide you with some skill videos at the beginning of each week throughout the summer, like this one from our Rocky Mountain Company Assistant Major Finch. We'll talk later about how you can participate after you watch.
Welcome everyone. Good afternoon from the frontier. My name is Finch. I'm the Assistant Major of the Rocky Mountain Fur Company. I'm here today with my little brother, Little Buck.
How's it going, everybody? Hope you're all doing well.
Today I'm about to teach you 3 important knots that are absolutely critical for use in future pioneering projects. The first knot I'm going to teach you is the clove hitch. This one's important because it's the starter and finisher for the square, tripod, round, and shear lashing. Begin the knot by laying it over the stick. You wind the tail end back to the bottom right. Run it over top to the top left, back under the stick to the bottom left. Then run your tail up to the loop you just made so that once you're finished, it looks like the letter N, capital N. Make sure to cinch those together because that's what ensures its tightness. Now the more you pull on it, the more it tightens. That is the clove hitch. Now the constrictor hitch is similar. It starts the same way. You start by running it over and looping it to the bottom right. Bring your tail up to the top left, now to the bottom left. Now, in order to complete a regular clove hitch, you would pass the tail through that loop you made. But a constrictor is slightly different. You bring it over the working end, back underneath so that you make an overhand knot, and then through that top loop. Now the constrictor is similar to the clove, but it's much, much tighter and stronger. That will not go anywhere, and it's a superior knot. The final knot is the timber hitch. Works the same way. You start by throwing the rope over the stick. Once you've done that, make a bite, which is just simply a loop of rope over the end you're holding. Now you take your tail and you run it back around and around and around, wind it with as much as it'll give you. And you tighten it by simply cranking up and down on your timber hitch until it's tight. This is the starter hitch for a diagonal lashing. Thank you for joining me today. I'll continue to provide lessons over the summer as we develop our pioneering knowledge.
Wow, I am still learning here. I will be completely honest, I have never even heard of the constrictor hitch. That is going to be a new favorite. The history of the fur trade is filled with tales of grisly tough and resourceful souls, some so incredulous that they seem larger than life. Many, though, have been validated with historical research, and their lore becomes part of our Frontiers Camp lessons of overcoming adversity, perseverance, and grit. Quiet Fox, captain in the American Fur Company, has a mountain man yarn to share with us now.
John Coulter was born in Virginia in the early 1770s. In 1803, he traveled across roadless wilderness to seek membership in the Lewis and Clark expedition. As a member of that expedition, he traveled to the Pacific Ocean and back. In 1806, he was mustered out to join trapping expeditions back to the mountains. His claim to be the first true mountain man was as good as anyone's. John Coulter was the first to make the high country his trapping territory. The mountains were nearly the death of him many times, the most memorable of which was his encounter with the Blackfoot tribe. He and a companion were trapping beaver in Blackfoot territory when they were surrounded by 500 or 600 American Indians, who beckoned them to come ashore. They were paddling down a creek at the time. Since retreat was now impossible, Coulter turned the head of his canoe towards shore, and at the moment of his touching, an American Indian seized the rifle belonging to his comrade. But Coulter, being a remarkably strong man, was able to wrestle it back and return it to him. His companion tried to leave in the canoe, but was shot with an arrow. Coulter called on him to surrender, but his friend instead leveled his rifle and shot a Native American dead. The man in the canoe was instantly pierced with many arrows. They now seized Coulter, stripped him, and began to consider the manner in which he should be put to death. They were first inclined to set him up as a mark to shoot at, but the chief interfered and seized him by the shoulder, asking if he could run fast. Coulter, who only poorly understood the language, knew now that he had to run for his life. He cunningly answered that he was a very bad runner. The chief commanded his warriors now to remain, and led Coulter out on the prairie 300 or 400 yards. He released him, bidding him to save himself if he could. At that instant, Coulter heard the war shout from the American Indians, and he took off with a speed that surprised even him. He headed for a river, having to cross a plain 6 miles wide, abounding with prickly pear cactus, on which he was treading every instant with his naked feet. He ran nearly halfway across the plain before he even dared to look over his shoulder. He saw that the party was very much scattered, and that he had gained considerable ground on the main body. But a single warrior, armed with a spear, was not more than 100 yards behind him. Coulter had exerted himself to such a degree that blood gushed from his nostrils down the front of his body. Now within a half mile of the river, he heard footsteps behind him. He turned his head to see the man not 20 yards away, and every instant he expected to feel the spear in his back. To avoid the expected blow, he suddenly stopped, turned around, and spread his hands out. The American Indian, surprised by the suddenness of the action, and perhaps by the bloody appearance of Coulter, also attempted to stop. But exhausted in his running, he fell trying to throw the spear, which stuck in the ground and broke in his hand. Coulter immediately snatched up the pointed part and pinned the Native American to the earth. Then he continued his run. The front line of the war party, on arriving at that place, waited until their companions caught up and joined them. They set up a hideous yell. Each moment's time was used carefully by Coulter, who managed to reach the trees by the river, though he was wildly exhausted. He plunged into the river. By luck, there was an island near the shore, and against it was a bunch of loose timber. Coulter dived under the wood, and with several tries managed to peek his head above water, so he was able to breathe underneath the pile. Scarcely he had hidden on the river, and when the Native Americans arrived, screeching and yelling, he was underneath the pile of timber, watching them through the cracks. They climbed on the wood pile during the day, where he was able to see them, but they never looked down. He was sure of his escape until he realized the American Indians might set fire to the very wood that concealed him. In horrible suspense, he waited through the day until night, when he heard no more sounds. He dived out from under the pile and swam silently down the river a considerable distance. Although happy in having escaped the Native Americans, his situation was still dangerous. He was completely naked, under a burning sun. His legs were entirely pierced with prickly pear thorns. He was hungry, and he had no means to kill game. He was at least 7 days' journey beyond Lisa's Fort. These were circumstances under which almost any man except a true American hunter would have despaired. Upon leaving the river, Coulter headed toward a mountain pass. Fearing the Blackfoot tribe guarded it, he decided to avoid the potential danger and go straight over the mountain. He climbed the almost perpendicular rise, the top of which was covered with perpetual snow. He held on by rocks, shrubs, and branches. By morning he had reached the summit. He lay there concealed all day, and at night proceeded down the mountain. Dawn saw him on an open plain leading to the settlement. He traveled day and night, stopping only to sleep, eating roots and the tree bark he could get. 11 days later, he reached the fort, exhausted by hunger, weariness, and excitement. His only clothing was the Native American's blanket whom he had killed in the race. His only weapon was the American Indian's spear, which he had brought in as a trophy. His beard was long, his whole body was thin and emaciated by hunger, and his legs were swollen and sore. The company did not recognize him in this dismal state until he told them who he was. A week later, he reached the trading post, sunburned and starved, but saved. He would continue to trap furs until 1810, when he decided he had enough. There he would return to civilization, where he would die of jaundice only 3 years later. Dane ho.
John Coulter certainly was a rugged individual with a remarkable story of tenacity. Music is another critical part of our Frontiers Camp tradition, and we explore music from many cultures that contributed to the making of the fur trade era. Heard around campfires, at Rendezvous, and beyond. This next segment is an example from some of our talented staff crew and campers. Blue Eagle, a captain with the Hudson Bay Company Woodsman, and Running Water, a buckskinner in the American Fur Company in 1828, performing a pair of historic jigs.
Hi everyone, my name is Blue Eagle, and this here is my brother, Running Water. Today we're going to play a couple of tunes for you that would have been played at a rendezvous in the American frontier. These are both songs that come out of the American Celtic tradition, which was brought over to our country from Ireland and Scotland, and the first one is called Wild Blueberries, and the second one is called the Tarantella. Enjoy. 1, 2, 3.
It's always great to see both staff crew and scout contributions to our campfires. Nice job, Blue Eagle and Running Water. I understand We've broken out of our own continent, and we even have visitors from Japan today on our live stream. Welcome to everyone. Every camper that has ever crossed the threshold to the older times we explore at Frontiers Camp has experienced the trading blanket and knows the importance of learning enough Native American Sign Language to communicate with the trader, to barter for a piece of delicious fudge, some beads, or another trade trinket. Here, we will see that sign language put to use with a sign language story told by Sitting Goat and translated by Chanter Douglas.
I am Chanter Douglas. Good evening. Tonight, I will be translating as Sitting Goat of the Free Trappers signs a story for you. That's the sign for a blackbird. Which blackbird? Raven, crow, or red-winged blackbird? Crow. In the beginning, all the birds were waiting together. This is the day the Great Spirit would give out all the colors, to give out the colors that each bird wanted to be. The first bird looked around, and he saw a red flower. The bird thought, this flower stands out alone among the rest. I want the color red, like the flower. The next bird looked around and thought, how beautiful is the blue sky. I want the color blue, like the sky. The next bird was very small, but wanted to be a chief. The bird thought, what is greater than the sun? I want the color yellow, like the sun. No one saw Crow. Crow was waiting far away. He was in the spot to get his song. Crow wanted a beautiful song. More than a beautiful face or appearance. Later, Crow got his song. But all the colors had been given out. All that remained was the color black. Crow had sunrise in his heart. He was very happy to have a beautiful song. The next morning, Crow flew off. He looked and saw a moose. Crow sat in a tree and spoke and sang. Moose stopped and listened. At night, Crow flew away. The next morning, Crow flew off. Looked around, saw a beaver. Hard at work, felling trees and making a house. Crow sat on a rock, spoke and sang. Beaver stopped working and listened to Crow's beautiful voice. At night, Crow flew away. The next day, Crow flew off, looked around, and saw a bear. She was eating to prepare for the big winter. Crow sat in a tree. Crow spoke and sang. Bear stopped eating and listened to Crow. At sunset, Crow flew away. It was the same the day after that, and the day after that, and every day was the same. The Great Spirit saw that all work stopped, and the winter was coming close. Crow made everyone's heart go far away. He distracted everyone, made their minds wander. The next morning, Crow spoke with a broken voice. Crow went off. He looked around, saw deer. Crow sat in a tree. Crow spoke. Deer ran away fast. Crow understood not. He did not understand. Crow flew away. He looked and saw a turtle. Crow sat on a rock. He spoke and sang, now with an ugly voice. Turtle ran away, as fast as he could. Today, Crow's voice is bad, and he has that broken caw that you and I all know now. And everyone works hard to get ready for the winter.
Sitting goat makes good sign story. At Frontiers Camp, we say that whatever happens is the program, and we're seeing that in spades right now. This next performance is another example of making the best of a situation. A couple of years ago, our Voyageurs canoe outpost was curtailed by thunder and lightning on the lake. So we decided to stay in camp and an impromptu lantern light song, as the Voyageurs might have while waiting out a storm.
Our paddles clean and bright, our paddles clean and bright, flashing like silver, follow the wild goose flight. Dip, dip and swing back, dip, dip and swing them back, flashing like silver, follow the wild goose flight. Dip, dip and swing, our paddles clean and bright, flashing like silver, follow the wild goose flight. Dip, dip and swing, dip, dip and swing them back, flashing like silver, follow the wild goose flight. Dip, dip and swing, our paddles clean and bright, flashing like silver, follow the wild goose flight. Dip, dip and swing, dip, dip and swing them back, flashing like silver, follow the wild goose flight. Dip, dip and swing.
I remember that storm vividly. Sometimes leadership is knowing that Plan B is the best thing to do. And now, joining us from the Rocky Mountains of Colorado, in the territory of the original Fur Rendezvous, is Channer Douglas, with some words about fellowship, resilience, and community.
It's early summer, 1831. For the last 11 months, you've been completely alone, trapping in the Rocky Mountains, since the last rendezvous brought you fresh supplies and a tiny bit of companionship. Now, all of your ammunition is spent. Your blankets are worn to threads. The few remaining traps you have are held together with rawhide and willpower. You eagerly look forward to this coming rendezvous, where you can get new supplies and spend a little bit of time with companions who don't have fur or feathers. And so, you arrive at the appointed place and time. You set up camp and wait a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And after a month goes by, you realize that you're going to have to head back to the hills for the fall hunt with no rendezvous at all. You have no new traps, no blankets, no ammunition, and you haven't seen another friendly soul for a whole year. What a month ago looked to you like an empty possibles bag is now the only thing you have to keep yourself alive for another harsh winter in the Rockies. And with no new recruits coming from the east, the only people you have to count on are the few other folks that you have that are stuck in the same predicament that you are. Well, I certainly hope that you, today, are safe at home with plenty to eat. Still, having no rendezvous at Mount Norris this year reminds me a little bit of 1831 and the rendezvous that wasn't. It makes me think of having to make do with whatever you have on hand, of missing friends and family, and of doing our best with those in our own households, and of the frustrations of chasing after a meeting that never comes. And yet, here we are, gathered together tonight as best we can, and leaning on one another to make the best of a very challenging time. Just as Fitzpatrick, Jedediah Smith of the Trappers, and Joe Meek of the Barrels help one another, I hope that you are finding the support that you need to survive and to thrive. Now, earlier tonight, Pine Tree invited you, or challenged you, to maybe choose to sleep outside for this scheduled week of Frontiers Camp, or perhaps to cook meals for your family on an open fire, if those things are available to you where you are now. And I also have a challenge for you tonight. I challenge you to seek out ways that you can be of support to your family, your friends, and to your community. I want you to right now start thinking of ways that you can bring home the spirit of the Frontiers Camp family, some way that you can be of assistance to others. Perhaps it's there's an elderly neighbor who could use a little bit of help with some property maintenance, or maybe there's a local park that needs some cleanup. Maybe there are even ways that you can help others strictly online. You need to be safe and responsible, which means something different now than it used to, and make sure to make plans with the adults. So go ahead and put your ideas into the chat. I cannot wait to see what you come up with for your 2 acts of service to your family and to your community. Now that we cannot be together, you cannot be of service in the same way to Frontiers Camp. I want to see how you're going to serve where you are right now. Of course, a rendezvous was more than just a place to trade or to buy supplies. It was also a social gathering, as Joe Meeks put it, full of mirth, singing, dancing, shouting, trading, and all sorts of extravagances. I thank you for joining our campfire tonight to take part in this fellowship. Please check out the Frontiers Camp website, which will have a full schedule of all that we have in store for you over the next 7 weeks. Now, Little Tree is going to tell you about that in just a little while, so I don't want to go into too many details. But in addition to being able to learn new skills like Finch showed you, we're going to have some times when we can all have the same recipe, cook together at home, and then share a meal live. We are also going to have some live fellowship immediately after this campfire. And so take a look into the description and into the chat, the YouTube chat, for a link to a Zoom meeting. I know we've all had more than enough of Zoom already, but this time there's no homework, there's no deadlines. It is simply a social event. Bring your own ice cream if you've got it. And the real purpose here is just to see each other and to catch up, because, my friends, I miss you, and I'm looking forward. I hope to see you very, very soon. Thank you.
We are all really looking forward to your participation in this summer's activities. Our staff crew has created a program with a series of different ways for scouts to observe, engage, and share in some remote frontier skills and experiences. You saw a short example from Finch earlier, and now Little Tree will share with you what we have prepared for you as we all look forward to seeing each other in person in 2021 or 1830.
Good evening, friends and family. This is Little Tree. It's good to be with you all again. The staff crew has been working very hard over the last several weeks to provide something that you can all enjoy, learn from, and participate in over the course of the summer if you choose. It's what we're calling our Frontier Camp Remote Rendezvous 2020. Over the course of 7 weeks beginning tomorrow, we will be providing an array of content and chances for fellowship, as Pine Tree and Chanter Douglas have mentioned. These challenges, lessons, and events will take place over the course of July and half of August. At the beginning of each week, we will send out an email containing all the links and information for that week. On Monday morning, we will post instructional skills demonstration and challenge videos, and those will be followed by a live demonstration in the middle of the week. At the end of the week, you will have an opportunity to share with us your attempts at completing activities and challenges. So let's dive into those videos I mentioned. A recorded physical challenge hosted by Finch and others will be posted on Monday morning. This is a great chance to get your blood pumping to keep you physically strong, exercise fortitude to keep you mentally awake, and gives you a chance to challenge yourself and maybe even your Frontiers Camp friends. Also on Monday morning, we will post a skills demonstration video created by one of our very own staff crew. These videos will highlight a frontier skill that you can practice on your own at home. On the following Wednesday, you will have a chance to join us for a follow-up live session. The recorded skill and challenge videos will be posted to our YouTube channel on Monday morning of each week. On the following Wednesday, you'll have a chance to join us for that 2-hour live skill session I mentioned. The live skill session will be hosted by familiar staff crew instructors and will give you a chance to further develop the skills shown in the Monday demonstration video. Each Wednesday, we will host a Zoom meeting from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time. I imagine several of you are Zoom experts at this point. This is a chance to further develop your new skill, get some guided practice and ask questions, learn a more advanced skill in person, and apply that learned skill in new ways. It's also a great chance to chat with your Frontiers Camp friends. The live skill session on Zoom will be held each Wednesday as a follow-up to the Monday video. A link to each Wednesday Zoom meeting will be provided in our Monday email that goes out each week. Now, here's where you can have some fun and show us your work. Friday's Scout Upload is a chance to show us what you've got. If you'd like, you can upload to us a photo or video of you completing a challenge or skill practice during the week. If you upload by the end of Friday, our staff crew instructors will take a look and provide you with some timely feedback. A link to the secure video upload website will be provided in the Monday email. Your submitted photos and videos may even be showcased in future campfires if you'll allow it. We plan to provide 7 weeks of content in this format, with recorded videos provided on Monday, a live session on Wednesday, and a chance for you to upload your videos by the end of the week. But of course there's more. Just like tonight's live stream campfire, we plan to host 2 additional Sunday campfires throughout the summer using YouTube Live. Like this campfire, you will receive an email to a link for a YouTube Live that will begin at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Sunday. They will be similar to this one, but we hope to see more of you in the photos and videos that you upload to us. You'll see and hear many themes from camp, and you can join us in the live chat, hang out, and watch us campfire with us. Chanter Douglas mentioned fellowship earlier, which is a really big part of our camp life. After campfire tonight, we will be hosting a live Zoom video meeting for an opportunity to gather again as a Frontier Camp family. A link for the live Zoom meeting is the chat posted right now if you take a look. Of course, let's bring your own ice cream because Red Turtle and the dining hall are not available to us this year. As you can see, we've got a lot to offer you over the next 7 weeks, but it really doesn't stop there. We're forgetting about a really important part of Frontiers Camp, and that's food. We're excited to have you join us for live meals circles on a few Saturdays throughout the summer. Early in the week, for each live meal circle, we will publish a recipe. Some as videos, and some as written recipes. You only need to know a few steps to recreate Pathfinder's Frontier Oatmeal, but we'll probably pass on that one this year. During the week, pilfer the pantry or make a safe trip to the store to gather the required ingredients. Substitutes are totally acceptable. On Saturday, take a stab at cooking your family meal and join us live on Zoom to eat together and see some familiar faces. A link to the live Zoom meal circle will be included with that published recipe. Big Oak's usual array of hot sauces and powders will unfortunately not be available this year, so you'll have to bring your own hot sauce. We have a great summer of challenges, skills, and fellowship planned, and would love to see you for any or all of it. Many of the various videos and events I have mentioned will be made available as links on the Frontiers Camp website, and we'll keep lots of information updated there as well throughout the summer. If you visit now, you'll see several scheduled items already that will be made live once the time comes. I really look forward to seeing you all virtually throughout the summer, and even more so in person when we meet again at our Mount Norris Rendezvous in 2021.
It sure looks like a lot of great activities. But as Little Tree notes, you can participate in as much or as little as you like. And as you know, we are an all-volunteer staff, and for this summer, there is no cost to you other than your time. As Frontiers Camp family, you've all heard our camp song, with the origin of its tune dating back centuries. We obviously can't all see each other tonight across the campfire circle as we sing together, but our staff crew has put together a video that we hope is the next best thing. You may even notice new signs for the second verse. Please feel free to join in and sing and sign with us from home.
As the sun today begins to set, I think back to this morning's call. Of all my duties sought and done, and comrades made with one and all. And here I stand, a mountain man, full of memories known to none but us. So come with me to the firing, Doneho, I say, with all my friends. So come with me to the firing, and gather ash from the years gone by. We'll make the signs at the long day's end, Doneho, I say, with all my friends. A rendezvous has come to pass, bringing homes together from far off lands, sharing skills and passions of older times, learning song and dance of distant climes. And now we've found a place we love, full of family, friends, and those soon to be. So come with me to the firing, Doneho, I say, with all my friends. So come with me to the firing, and gather ash from the years gone by. We'll make the signs from the long day's end, Doneho, I say, with all my friends.
I wanted to take the opportunity to give staff crew alumnus Bubs credit for the composition of those words, and Chandler Douglas for the sign language translation, and all of the staff crew who took time to participate in the creation of that video. It makes my heart good. We also want to take a moment and honor our elders who bring much wisdom to our camp. All the way from the Smoky Mountains of Tennessee, Dullknife, proprietor of the bar None, has found his own campfire and has a message for us all.
Grandfather, thank you for this absolutely glorious day. Those of us in this council appreciate what you have done for each and every one of us. We want you to continue to guide us in your path as we proceed through life. Tonight, I have come to share with those of the circle a short story. One day, on a hot summer day, I was walking along an ocean beach. In the distance, I saw a man doing a strange dance, bending over and over again. As I neared him, I saw that he was picking up sea stars and throwing them back into the ocean. I asked him, "Why are you doing this?" And he replied, "The tide is rolling out. The sun is hot. And if I don't throw them back, they will surely die here." I ask you, why do you do this when the beach is miles long and there are thousands of sea stars? The few you throw back will make no difference. The man paused with a sea star in his hand. He looked at it. He looked at the ocean. And he tossed it into the sea. And he said, "It matters to that one." Donnie Ho.
Okay, Dullknife, I concede you have a bigger campfire than me. So call it a good turn daily or whatever you will, but we can all take heed to look out for one another. For the hundreds of volunteer hours of planning and setup work that goes into putting together a week of in-person Frontiers Camp for over 100 scouts, we typically have a year to complete those tasks. And generally, we know what it takes to get them done. This year has been full of unexpected changes and obstacles, seemingly unfordable rivers, foreboding mountain passes, isolation, and lots of unknowns. With only a couple of months to plan, this staff crew has truly risen to these challenges. devoting countless hours in bringing unique and inspired technical, planning, administrative, programming, and deep skill knowledge together in a way that AMP can. We look forward to seeing you in the coming weeks during our remote rendezvous. My sincere thanks to all that have contributed to bring this first campfire and the next weeks of activities into remote reality. And last, as always, we end our Frontier campfires with the signs, again with a little help from our staff crew. Join us as we continue this custom from all across the continent and even over the great waters. And we hope to see some of you after at the post-fire camp Zoom fellowship. Be safe, be well. We'll see you again soon. May the great mystery make sunrise in your heart.